One thing we think we know, or have a very, very, very good idea of now, is how many players Michigan's going to take at the edge position. Mm-hmm. Josh had a very, well-connected source this week answer a question that we've been prodding at because we've been talking about edge recruiting and all these names. And we said, how many guys are you going to take in this class? This is crazy. And the answer was crazy.
Yeah. On top of what Michigan has now, and that's pure edge guys. We're not talking about like Cole Sullivan, eventually ending up as an edge. I'm talking pure edge guys in the class. There's 2 right now in Ted Hammond and Gerard Smith. And according to someone that I spoke to last week, Michigan he said it's a fluid situation, but the talk is that they could add 4 or 5 more defensive ends on top of what they have now.
Unreal.
So we're talking a defensive end class that could look like 6 or 7 guys, which, it's a huge number. Maybe they get shuffled around. Someone turns into a tackle, or someone goes a different position or something. But when we're talking about pure edges right now, 6, they would like 6 or 7. Do they get to that number? Right now it's looking like they'll get right there, or at least close. But 4 or 5, that's a huge class just in that group. But you're adding another 2 onto that already. 6 or 7 guys in a room that's that has a good amount of youth to it. So you're expecting a bunch of guys to leave after the year. You're expecting a mass exodus of guys. They have a couple of candidates to leave early if all works out for them. So that's a huge number.
And I think you just nailed it, though. It's the new football world, man.
No, yeah, you
got to be prepared.
Yeah.
And some of these guys that are in this class, after a freshman or a sophomore year, might go into the portal, right? Mm-hmm. They've got this attitude of, we're going to get the dudes we want, and the guys that want to be here, and it'll work itself out,
right?
And
I do want to answer this question too.
It's a right attitude if you're an elite program.
Right. Exactly. And I do want to answer this question from Shadyville too. Does that mean the defense would move towards a pure 3-4? I don't believe so. I mean, I think Michigan's defense has always been multiple in its scheme. Yep. I don't think you could say, oh, this is a 3-4 defense. This is a 4-3 defense. I think they have a bunch of different schemes and a bunch of different ways they can utilize guys. So yeah, you could see probably some aspects of the 3-4 defense in there, but they're not going to be strictly considering themselves a 3-4 or a 4-3. They're multiple, and because of how well they've recruited and how well they've been able to develop guys to be able to play multiple positions or switch guys around. So, before we get into names and all that stuff, I thought this was a really good question that needed to be answered. But multiple defensive schemes and a 3-4 would certainly be part of it. And, maybe that includes a little more 3-4 looks in the future, but, I don't think there'll be a pure 3-4 defense, so to speak.
Oh, you're in my favorite subject in the world right now, so I could talk about this for an hour. But the amoeba defense is kind of entering a pinnacle year here, and the goal is versatility, flexibility. Right? That's what they target in recruiting. That's what they built up, and then they adjust to their strengths. So could they be more 3-4 heavy, like you said, because that's the strength of the roster that year? Yes. Mm-hmm. But they're never going to run out of a base 3-4. They're just not, because being able to confuse the defense with multiple looks where they could be in 3 different packages with the same look, right? A safety is a linebacker, a corner is a safety, an end is a DT, drops in coverage, blah, blah, blah. They're never going to be the Steelers. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think that helps. That's helped get Michigan over the hump.
100%. And that's the modern NFL now.
Right.
And players see that, and you hear it all the time from recruits and players. I'm getting ready for the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, they can get me ready. So
yeah, I mean, they're no longer predictable. Like in the previous defensive scheme they had under Don Brown, a lot of times you would know what's coming. But now with this amoeba defense, which I think is a great description of it, you don't know what's coming. You don't know what the look is, because they could show one thing and it could be completely different. So I think that part of, the growth on defense has really helped, and it's what gotten Michigan over the Ohio State hump and, the Big Ten drought and all that stuff. So, that's another key part of it too.
Well, and you brought up the 2 commits they have right now in Ted Hammond and is it Gerard, not Jared? It's Gerard's one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think both of them could be defensive tackles, Jenkins type role, Mason Graham type role, Upshaw type role, or they could stay at edge. We don't know. Cole Sullivan, the linebacker, could be an edge, could be a Mike. We don't know. They'll figure it out. They're football players.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's corny, but that's what Michigan's recruiting. They like multi-sport athletes. They like guys that play both directions because they'll grow into what they grow into. They don't have to peg them into a role, force them into a role. And then they're going to adapt to whatever that player becomes, right? Yeah. So let's go through a few names. Just give me confidence level. How's that? Or just kind of a quick, where you're at. So one name, probably the highest rated guy I would guess is Marquis Lightfoot out of Chicago.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. I don't know if I'd say I'm super confident with him. I thought Michigan did a really good job with him during his visit in March. And I think things might have faded out a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Is planning another visit, and anything can happen, but I think there are some other names that Michigan are far more confident in than Lightfoot. But I think that one has evolved a little bit. But hey, who knows? It might come back if they miss out on a guy or something happens or whatever. But right now, I'm kind of iffy on that one.
Hopefully it's Miami and not Ohio State, though, right?
That's the type of thing you kind of want them out of the Big Ten. So
I think this guy is my favorite edge prospect, Darian Mayo. He's got some connections to the program out in Maryland, plays a good counsel. He is a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Monster.
That's a dude that might end up playing in defensive tackle. I mean, huge dude. I think Michigan has a great shot, a really good shot. I am very, very tempted to put in a prediction for Michigan here, but I think I'm going to wait until after the visit to kind of get a better idea. But heading into this visit, I would not be surprised if, the scuttlebutt behind the scenes was that Michigan was the leader here. I mean, he really likes Michigan. He loved Michigan before his unofficial visit a few months ago, and that's only gotten stronger. And, the whole Maryland, the relationship there is only getting stronger. He would be a guy where I'm quickly heading towards the expectation that he'll end up in the class. I mean, that's a huge pickup for Michigan if that does end up happening, which I think it will. But yeah, a guy that I'm tempted to put in a prediction in early, but at the same time, I'm not afraid to do it if I hear enough, if I hear something enough that gives me confidence. But for me, I'm kind of patiently waiting for the official visit to take place, and we'll see what happens from there.
A lot of these guys have busy Junes. He's got 4 visits.
Yeah,
Clemson, Ohio State, USC, and Michigan in the month of June. So yeah, I do the commit videos where I do the highlights on our cut up series after they commit. I want him to commit just so I can show. I think it's the second or third play in his highlights. It's the best goal line play I've ever seen. High school, college, pro. And I'm not kidding. He meets a running back at the goal line. He is like, his feet are 3 yards into the end zone, and he just pushes and lifts this dude and keeps him out of the end zone. It's one of the best effort plays I've ever seen. And he's a monster. 6'7", 250 or something right now. Pff, crazy.
Yep.
Another name that's we've talked about a couple times, kind of blew up, comes from Denard Robinson's home of Deerfield Beach. Mm-hmm. That's Elias Rudolph.
Yeah.
Another, he's a little, I don't want to say undersized, but he's a guy you could see being more of that true weak side edge for sure. His role seems pretty obvious to me.
Yeah, no, he's sitting at around 210 right now, which, he'll need to put in some work in the weight room. But again, I mean, that's, most of these guys. So it's not like he's a outlier here, but a little more, I say 210 is slight, but a little more slight compared to the other guys that they're recruiting in the position. So it's he's another guy where I'm cautiously optimistic with Michigan's chances. I'm not ready to sit here and say, oh, yeah, he's going to be in the class. Absolutely. I do think Michigan has a great shot. Our John Garcia spoke with him recently, and he said that, Michigan is the buzz is real, but, they're going to have a contest against Pitt for his services, which, if you're comparing just, apples to oranges here, Michigan is the better program if you're, state of things, but, people like their own fit, and that's totally fine too. And he'll go through the process. But again, he's another one of those guys where, there's confidence to maybe include him in the conversation, but I want to hear more coming out of the official visit before I even think about putting in a prediction. But early confidence, I'd say, that it's a decent confidence. I'm not going to pound the table for him here, but I think Michigan has a great shot, and this official visit that he's going to take will go a long way for sure.
He's another guy with a busy June, 4 visits, Pitt, like you mentioned, Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State.
Yep.
For him, like I said, for me, it's fit. I like Lightfoot's game a lot. I think he's a true 4-3 defensive end. So honestly, if both of those guys, if Lightfoot and Michigan are being honest, he might not be the best fit to what they do, right? Mayo could be strong side edge. He could go to defensive tackle. There's a lot of things he could do. There's a fit there. Rudolph, like I said, is so obvious to me. Uche, Ojabo, weak side edge.
Yeah.
He's just so obvious, that fit.
Absolutely.
Another guy we've talked about a bunch because he felt like it was Michigan, and what else does he need to know at this point? Yeah. It's kind of the deal, right? With Brian Robinson out of Ohio. I think the hang up there, again, could be fit. He strikes me as maybe more of a 4-3 defensive end. But it's a guy that felt like we were penciling him into Michigan's class for a long time. And then the last conversation we had about him was basically, hey, if he waits because he wants to be ready, that's fine. He might miss out on a spot. He might not miss out on a spot now if they're taking 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah, true. No, I mean, that is true. He's another one of those guys where, Michigan has been, trending with him for so long. It's just kind of one of those points. It's like, okay, you're going to commit or not? I mean, there's a point in March where, he was visiting almost back-to-back weekends at one point. So you thought, oh, okay, well, this one should get over here pretty quickly. But, now it's kind of a process where, some of the recruits aren't hearing from him as much. He's still very much going through the process, but Michigan is still going to be a factor. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're done, but we'll see. I mean, he's expected to officially visit, so maybe the pendulum swings back. But I'm not as confident as I once was. My future cast is in on him, but again, I'm not as confident as I once was in. Maybe he does wait himself out of a spot. I mean, there is the potential because they're in on so many other guys that, they may take a guy like Rudolph over Robinson because Rudolph's a better fit and, you can mold a 210 guy.
100%.
So another guy where, it's interesting and things might be fading away a little bit as the more he goes on and checks out other programs, which is totally fine. He's got that. He has the prerogative to do so. But, in terms of waiting it out and finding a spot, with the way Michigan's recruiting right now, especially at that position, he might not have that much time to wait.
I think it's so interesting. Just another example of how connected this class is.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our best indications of how a recruit is trending is talking to other commits.
Yeah.
And finding out I haven't really heard from him. Or, they'll reach out like, hey, like that happened with Tatum, right? We had a few folks reach out. Hey, what did you hear? So
yeah, no, that's true. That did happen.
Yeah. So
yeah,
this group is tight.
Yeah.
They really are. So I think if you're not locked into that group, you kind of feel left out, maybe, right. He's got visits in June too. Michigan, Penn State, and Kentucky, Ohio. They've done pretty well in Ohio fit wise. I would not be shocked If
Yeah.
it's not Michigan, I would not be shocked to see him go to Kentucky.
Yep.
Um,
100%.
Another Maryland kid that kind of popped up in the last couple of weeks. Another great fit, Devin Baxter.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of folks were familiar with him. One of the more underrated dudes in this class. But again, when you watch it and you talk about Michigan fit, two-sport athlete, plays both ways on the field, already 6'7", 230.
Yeah.
This might be another. Michigan doesn't care about recruiting rankings, folks.
Right. Yeah. What more do you need? Say no more right there, right? Michigan loves the two-way guys. They love the multi-sport athlete. And, he's got a great size and a frame that you can add onto it. But, yeah, another guy where you kind of have to wait and see what happens with the visit. I don't think, I think this is a winnable, this is a winnable recruitment. It's not like Michigan is battling from behind here. He's another guy where things could make sense where it trends towards him being in the class, but Michigan likes him a lot. So, you kind of have to put stock into that as well. So, another guy where I could see myself putting in a prediction after the visit once I hear enough. But, just another guy that has shown a ton of promise, and, you can develop him into something for sure.
Two more guys to mention. One, Antoine just brought up the other Smith brother, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about the twins,
Yep.
and how rare they separate. But you have a future cast, yes?
Yes,
That's what I thought.
Did put one in, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So yeah, I think Smith number 2. I mean, I'm mentally kind of counting him at this point.
Yeah, he says and does all the right things in terms of keeping it open. He wants to go through his process, and that's fair. You don't have, just because your brother goes somewhere doesn't mean you have to follow them. But however, when you look at a general history of twins in college football, I can't put a percentage. I can't put a percentage on that, but more often than not, they're going to follow each other to a school. I mean, you got the Green twins at Michigan, the Adamalola twins at Notre Dame, and those are the only 2 twins I can think of at the top of my head that went to the same school. But it's more than just those 2 cases. But I mean, I believe that Michigan will get Jacob Smith. I do. So we'll see. Again, I don't think he's going to drop before he comes on his visits. I say visits because he's taking an official visit here, I think June 2nd.
You told me about this. Really smart.
Yeah, June 2nd. And then he's coming again later in the month when Gerard takes his visit.
Yeah, Lincoln with his brother. So smart.
Yeah, and he's going to be a guest for Jacob. Or I'm sorry, Gerard. Jacob is going to be a guest of Gerard's, so he gets his trip paid for by Michigan too. So you're getting 2 official visits from the same school, and I think that gives Michigan a huge, huge leg up. I mean, that's you're not going to be able to get any. I mean, yeah, you can take an unofficial visit elsewhere, and so you can get 2 visits in, but 2 official visits in a matter of weeks. I mean, I think that speaks pretty loudly into where we think this is going to be headed. And that fact alone really kind of, prompted me to put in a prediction. I was kind of leaning that way to begin with because Michigan felt really confident that they were going to add, the Smith twins together. But that fact alone, it may happen after his visit, the first visit. So I don't know. We'll see. But positive signs there, and I would not be surprised if he's part of the class sooner rather than later.
I've got one more edge player I want to get your confidence meter on, but when we talked about growing this podcast, I think one of the first measurements would be OSU fans showing up and talking crap, and it's happened. Michigan can't produce. Mr. John in the comments, everyone's going.
Oh, and it seems like we have lost Trevor. So that's cool. So it's just going to be me, guys. How's it going? Hey, John, thanks for the comment. Oh, and he's back. He's back, folks.
Sabotage.
Breaking news. John hacked into Trevor's account and bumped him, folks. This is breaking news.
This is
Just
Trevor
coming
does
down the
not
line.
know how to use his Apple mouse. And I think I just shimmied a little too hard to the left there and I went back. But we'll blame
And did you
OSP.
notice that our viewership went up as soon as you got bumped? So interesting. I thought that was interesting.
Oh, it just went down. Oh,
yeah.
God.
Now he's back again. They saw him, and
I've got a face for radio. All right, last edge guy, real quick. I want to touch on with your confidence. If Mayo is my number one favorite, 1A, Dominic Nichols is my 1B. His offer came pretty late in this cycle, but again, the fit is so obvious here in terms of him growing into a strong side edge. How do you feel about Nichols?
I feel really good about Nichols. No, I had a guy linked to this whole thing telling me that Michigan was the team to beat right now, and I do think that's true. Had a really strong unofficial visit a couple weeks ago to campus. Has a really good relationship with Mike Elston. So I think Michigan ends up with him. I think he's planning an official visit here soon, and I really like who they're going up against. Wisconsin, a bit of a resurgence there, but we'll see. I think the better fits in Michigan. I think he realizes that. So we'll see there, but I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good about that.
Yep. June visits to Wisconsin, Michigan, and Kentucky.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest observation here too, is there's a lot of crossover in this group, right? A lot of the same schools targeting the same dudes. And June is going to be a very, very busy month. So I think we're going to see a lot of clarity over the next month or so, but it's interesting. There's a lot of names there, a lot of guys I think are a good fit. And again, Michigan's talking about taking 6 or 7 of these dudes.
Right.
Which, again, we could go on and on about the new era of transfer portal. Michigan is expecting, I wouldn't say just an exodus of players next year. They're openly stating their goal is to have the most players drafted ever in the NFL draft. That is their goal. And that's what they're going to go for. Yeah. We can bring him up real quick as well.
Yep.
Excuse me, Mr. Wafle.
Yes.
Is it pronounced Wafle?
I
hope it is.
I hope it's Wafle. I hope it's Wafle.
No, real interesting situation at Notre Dame. Kind of mixed. I don't know what we want to call it. Comments coming out of that, but a now Notre Dame decommit that seems to be trending very heavily to Michigan.
Yeah.
That could be another Elston special there, I would imagine.
Yeah. No, I kind of project him as more of an interior guy.
Oh, that's their DT.
Yep. Yeah, that's
their nose specifically.
Right. That's
not a lot of nose guys.
Yeah, that's going to be their nose guy. And then I believe that David Palipale out of Pennsylvania is going to be their other defensive tackle too. But yeah, he's definitely Owen Wafle's definitely projecting to be more of an interior guy. But yeah, another guy that, I got texts about immediately after he decommitted, one from New Jersey and one locally here, that gave confidence that, he was going to eventually end up committing. Again, not really sure when he will, maybe when there's a visit set up or something, he might do it on the visit, but a guy that I definitely think that they'll end up getting for sure. And as you said, that's your nose right there. So yeah, all good things so far.